great to see everybody. Great to see the presenters here. And in a moment here, I'm going to hand the reins off to Glenn Goldman, who is the chair of the Education Committee, the SIGGRAPH Education Committee. For those a really amazing, very ad hoc undertaking that is growing in size, scale, success. We had a review session we had a record number of submissions this year, and I mean, a significant large increase in submissions to the point where we really had to struggle with decisions. We added time this year to the soiree, removed break time, and still couldn't make room to accept like everything we would have wanted to. So what you are seeing are like some of the just really, really engaging presentations and videos. And so thank you all, and thank you to Glenn and the rest of the committee for supporting all of this. And with that, Glenn, I'm going to hand over the soiree to you and to start up the first session.
Thank you, Nick.
Anyone who's not in the first session, we can all mute and close our video. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Nick, and welcome everybody to our 5th annual soiree, which is the ACM SIGGRAPH Education Committee Symposium on Innovation, Research, and Experiences in Education. I want to thank first Nick Jushchyshyn, who gave birth to this 5 years ago, and to the others who worked so hard, the committee who reviewed all these submissions, especially to Nick and Cheryl Briggs, who worked with Nick and is in transitioning to take over the bulk of the work for future soirees, and also Webba Koning and our webmaster, and Annie Miles, who handles our social media, who both were assistant and valuable in publicizing this event. So this is one of a number of activities sponsored by the Education Committee. It is our largest non-conference activity. We have a couple of student competitions, space time, and faculty submitted student work, and then a show reel that's associated with that. But those are both associated more closely with the summer conference. And then, of course, there's the Educators Forum that takes place in the conference in the summer, and frequently at SIGGRAPH Asia as well. So I wanted to welcome everybody. Now, our first session, most of these sessions today are very short, or very short presentations, leaving a lot of time for discussion. And we ask for submission of 1-minute videos. And, well, every year the committee is always impressed by, well, we're impressed by a lot of things, but we've been able to select one session that we think would make a particularly strong kickoff session, and we expand that time for presentation a little bit, and usually including introductions, usually for half an hour. And we did that this time, and this is a session originally submitted by Johannes DeYoung from Carnegie Mellon, called Blind Contour. Now, unfortunately, Johannes can't be here, so one of his collaborators is Peter Schaldenbrand from the Carnegie Mellon, who is here. And I will just I have the information, the 4 people who put this together, and I'll just I got this information from Johannes. Johannes, by the way, has been a longtime committee member, a past committee member of the Education Committee, and also committee member of the Digital Arts Committee. So, and he for a number of years hosted the industry panel in the summer conference with people from industry and academia. So Johannes is an artist whose practice explores themes of animism and the intersection of computational and material processes. He's an associate professor of electronic and time-based media at Carnegie Mellon University, having previously taught Yale University School of Art for 10 years, 2008 to 2018, where he was appointed senior critic and founding director of the Center for collaborative arts and media, and at the Yale School of Drama, where he was appointed lecturer in design. Peter, who will be doing the presentation today, his research lies at the intersection of generative artificial intelligence and robotics. His research centers upon the creation of new and motivating tools for performing real-world acts of creativity, such as painting or sculpting, by developing collaborative AI and robotic assistance for artists. His work on the robotic painting system, Frida, has been featured in the New York Times and won multiple awards at robotics conferences. And there are two other people who worked on this. Jean Oh is an associate research professor at Carnegie Mellon University Robotics Institute and is an associate research professor, at the Robotics Institute, where she directs robot intelligence group, BIG. Her research focuses on AI for robotics, specifically merging computer vision, language, and planning for autonomous navigation. She holds a PhD in language and information technologies from Carnegie Mellon. And the last one is Tomo Son. I don't know if it's Son or Sone. I apologize in advance. Is a Kyoto-born, Japan, USA-based independent choreographer, performer, and producer, known for blending contemporary dance with AR and AI technology to explore empathy, human connection, and environmental themes. She began her career in Israel in 2008, later establishing the Japan-Israel International Dance Project. Her interdisciplinary work, often featuring self-designed soundscapes and costumes, has been showcased internationally, including at the Suzanne Dalal Center. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to, before I do, because the idea of Soiree is to have discussion and interactivity, what we invite everybody to, to submit questions. At the bottom of your screen, on Zoom screen, there should be an icon that's with a question mark that says Q&A. Please write your questions in there. I will be monitoring that, and when we open it up for questions, I will then communicate those questions or integrate them into the discussion. So please, anything you can think of, anything you want to say, just put them in that Q&A box, and I, as well as the other hosts throughout the day, will be looking at those. So at this point now, Peter, welcome to Soiree.
Thank you for that introduction, Glenn, and thank you so much for having us and allowing us to present some of our work. Let me just share my screen here, pull up some video. It doesn't look like it's going to let me share sound here, which is okay, but I don't know if there's a setting that can be tweaked to allow that. Yeah, I'm filling in for Johannes DeYoung here, presenting our work we call Blind Contour. This was work with also Jean Oh and Tomo Sone.
Blind Contour is a collaboration between artists and researchers. Johannes DeYoung, Associate Professor of Art at Carnegie Mellon University. Jean Oh, Associate Research Professor at the Robotics Institute at Carnegie Mellon University. And Tomo Sone, choreographer, dancer, and recent artist in residence at the AI Hokusai Art Tech Research Project. The work advances exploration of neural choreographic idiolects, the hidden languages of bodily movement and human interaction, drawing inspiration from historical works by artists such as Wassily Kandinsky, Simone Forti, and Henri Michaud. Drawing upon multimodal techniques in machine learning, this research explores relationships between the choreographic gestures of dancers and the creation of generative real-time visual, auditory, and haptic media. During a pilot study in June 2025, these artists and researchers developed a closed-loop performance system using generative and physical AI technologies. The system was developed to visually analyze and index choreographic gestures, thus prompting generative drawings, interpreted and applied by the Frida robotic painting system, that is, the framework and robotics initiative for developing arts. The resulting drawings were further indexed and procedurally animated as gestural notation and reinterpreted as choreographic prompts by dancer Tomo Sone. While this first phase of research was based solely upon visual inputs, the next phase of research explores multimodal stimuli from various sensory sources to explore generative movement and poses through trajectory-based intent prediction. Sensory sources will include biometric, auditory, and wearable motion sensing devices. The second phase of research compares the efficacies of trajectory-based intent prediction at movement and pose generation as an alternative to diffusion-based generative AI, and explores intuitive applications of trajectory-based intent prediction systems in mediated performance environments.
Yeah, I think that's most of it. And then, yeah, I could take some questions and we can just kind of have this on loop.
If anybody has questions, please type them in the Q&A box, and I will relay them to Peter. In the meantime, I had some questions to get it started. Where is this going to go next? Or did this just end? Or is there some future development that you're working on or hope to work on? And what does this do for additional types of collaborations and expansion? And if you can talk about where you'd like to see all of this go.
Yeah, great question. Thanks, Glenn. I think there's a few different directions and they kind of correspond to each of our different kind of interests. I think we'd like to do a performance with this, having the robot paint live, projecting it onto Tomo, and yeah, having some sort of live performance. And we'd also, I'd also like to write a paper on how potentially like the robot can inspire new movements. I think when you think about robotics and AI in creative domains, the idea of the robot or AI taking over control isn't very exciting, but I think what is exciting is how can a robot motivate you to do more creatively or inspire you to think outside of the box. So I'm excited to kind of explore some scientific directions there, writing something up.
So are there any other types of different applications or collaborations that you're thinking of? I mean, I can think of sort of like the a version of the infinite mirror where the robot is painting somebody who's watching the robot painting something about the person who's painting, and so on.
I think that'd be super cool. Yeah, there's like different layers of abstraction going from human to robot, maybe back to human and reflecting. I think that's a great direction. I'd love to explore something like that.
So can you tell us a little bit about, with greater specificity, the setup that you used? And I mean, how did you actually accomplish this and do this?
Oh yeah, great question. So one of the technical difficulties is getting the robot to do things live. Because it's painting, it takes a while to kind of do this continuously. So because Tomo's working off of choreography, we had filmed her do the full choreography, and then we're able to chop it up and have the robot plan to make these drawings as she did it the next time. If that helps explain it a little bit. And the robot takes a little bit of time to plan and paint. And then I think if I can find it in the video, it's painting on a long scroll of acetate. And we just slowly roll that over onto 3 different projectors. And we just did it by hand, but one day we might make a device to kind of roll it automatically. So maybe it's a little hard to see here, but the robot is painting on translucent sheets that can be slowly moved over. So we're exploring kind of animation and this kind of dynamic animation, how that can inspire new movements for Tomo.
In order to get all this to work, how many false starts were there? And what were some of the things that because one of the things that we'd like to learn in terms of experiences is how we can apply some of the things to our own work or extend it or whatever. So what were some of the avenues you went down that you would not do again or that didn't work?
Oh, that's really interesting. I think one thing that we thought we'd start with was was the robot coming up with choreography from the start, and then having Tomo work with that and doing more improvisation. But you know, after like a day of kind of doing that, we were like, okay, this isn't that great, and Tomo wasn't that interested in doing kind of these dynamic or just in what do you call it, like improvisational movements. She was more interested in working with her choreography, and so at that point we kind of were like, okay, let's work with that. Let's figure out how the robot fits into something where you have a set choreography from the beginning.
I have a question. When when you filmed her, have you considered capturing from multiple angles?
Oh, that's a good question. We didn't end up doing that for the robot. So we were filming with like handheld cameras too, but the robot's perception was kind of head on. And so yeah, I think that'd be a really interesting future direction because Tomo's performance looks very different from different angles. So I'd like to explore that. Yeah, good point.
So with all the programming that you worked in order to that you used in order to get all of this to work, was that all written in-house, or did you use or take advantage of any off-the-shelf applications?
It's mostly written in-house. Yeah, the robot, the painting robot was my PhD thesis. So it's kind of like the culmination of 4 years of iterations on it. And generally it's doing larger pieces, not necessarily in scale, but in like number of actions. So the paintings are kind of full, dense paintings with like 600 strokes or something. So for this, I was interested in altering it to try to make it faster, more real time, which involved these smaller, or sorry, more sparse paintings with only like 9 strokes, for instance. So there was some alterations, but yeah, basically everything was written by me or some collaborators over the last 4 years.
Is there any way, or did you consider, or would you consider expanding this to have more, and you'd have to deal with the choreography of the robot arms themselves, but to deal with more than one color or more than one ink color at a time?
Explore a little bit of that. I don't think it ended up in the video, unfortunately. Because these are translucent sheets and being projected, you do need like special paints that are, you know, not reflecting the color, but like letting it shine through. Um, yeah, I think it'd be nice to explore multiple colors or multiple shades, but with every new color, it takes a little bit of time for the robot to clean the brush. So it makes it harder to do things real time. So maybe having multiple robots or better like hardware might enable that.
So how many reference points did you use, and do you have a maximum at this moment? This is a 2D simple projection of 3D motion. Have you tried any motion in 3D perspective?
Oh, maybe if I'm understanding you correctly, I think uh, you mean like trying to make something in 3D to capture the 3D essence of it?
This one was given to us by Simon Shim. So it said, how many, I'm just reading it. I'm guessing it's more of a question. Said, how did you capture this? Is it just a projection of onto a 2D space, or were you trying to do anything in actually 3D space?
Okay, good question. Yeah, I think if I'm understanding correctly, the robot's working off of reference photographs. So it's basically taking, yeah, like a 2D representation and then mapping it to just a more abstract 2D representation of the paintings. But the paintings do feel a little bit more alive, maybe because they're kind of sparse representations and have these kind of dynamic strokes to them, this kind of real world kind of noise that's created by the paintbrush that's a little unpredictable. I think it could be interesting to work with some sort of more 3D data. One thing we did explore was more temporal dimensions. So I was trying to get these, because they're not all just poses Tomo's doing, right? She's moving. So I tried to have the robot paint multiple frames on the same image. So if say her hand was moving like this, you'd see that. You'd have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then they'd be varying colors, or in this case, I did different values. They ended up being very messy. Generally, it was hard to see the motion in just a 2D still, unfortunately. But I think it's really interesting direction to explore.
How large a space did you have in order to accomplish this?
We were in a space in Pittsburgh that used to be the Pittsburgh Filmmakers. It's now owned by Carnegie Mellon. It's a pretty large space. So this studio here, yeah, it's hard to get a full sense of it, but it's a pretty big room. There was a kind of a zoomed out shot, but we had access to kind of multiple rooms. So this one we did the performance in, and then we had another one that we were just playing around in. Yeah, this is kind of to get a better sense of scale.
And how long did you have this? How long did you need this space for?
We had a pretty hard set of 5 days together because Tomo was traveling in, and so we could only ever allocate like 4 or 5 days total. So that's how long we had to explore. We did a little bit of preparation, but we really just wanted to dive in and do like a whole week, just full intensive thing.
Okay, are there no other open questions? And is there anything else that you would like to tell us about that you found particularly interesting? And I still would like to know, what do you plan to do next? Now that your thesis is complete, what's next?
Well, I'd encourage everybody to try to do something like this, maybe once a year. It was such an interesting process. I was in the process of writing my dissertation here and preparing my defense. And so I was spending so much time working on stuff that I had worked on for the last 4 years and, trying to wrap up stuff. I wasn't working on anything new. I kept rehashing the old stuff and preparing for a presentation. So being able to take a week where I just got to forget about that and work on something new with some people with very different backgrounds who could teach me things and I could teach them things and just explore was so valuable to me. Like, I really appreciated this experience. We're trying to replicate it again this summer. So I'd really encourage everybody to try to do something like this at some point. And yeah, moving forward, we're meeting again. And I think this time it'll be a bit more, we'll have like some more set goals. So I think we'll work towards a performance and we'll work towards writing some sort of scientific paper about how the robot might be able to inspire some choreography.
What are you going to do with all these images that I see on the screen now?
We're trying to find some places to present them, hanging them in different ways. We've kind of created them or stitched them all together into an animation. But yeah, that's something we also want to explore, is like some filmmaking with the robot hand animation.
Okay. So it is 10:55. Thank you very much for this. And we will start the next session. We'll kick off in just under 5 minutes with Maya Andreasen. I'll send it over to Nick to bridge the two. And thank you again, and your collaborators, and congratulations on the completion of your thesis.
Thanks so much, Glenn, and thanks everybody for bringing that up.
On a project that not only I found interesting, but everyone on the committee who reviewed this found really interesting and compelling.
Oh, yeah. Thanks so much. I really appreciate that.
Please be sure to submit it in some way to the 26th conference, by the way. Like, just get that submission in ahead of the deadline.
I mean, right now you have 26 people watching this. And you can have a lot more if you get it into in LA, if you can submit it to SIGGRAPH to the Educators Forum for this summer. And I echo Nick, and I would encourage you to do so.
Thanks so much. Yeah, we'll try to get that there, and hopefully we'll see you all in LA.